All right, I've started the recording, so welcome everyone to the November 18th edition of the KubeVirt SIG storage meeting. So I see we have a few agenda items. I wonder if, Alex, are we ready to get started with the first one?
So I need just a few minutes, something happening here. I need like 2, 3 minutes, but you can start with issues maybe.
Okay, sounds good. We'll jump down to issues. Pop this open, Alvaro. This is the one that you indicated. So we have CDI on ARM.
Yeah, so we didn't do the triage the last time, so there's lots of issues
Okay,
that we need to comment on. But
sure.
I don't
Okay.
think this one is that high on priority, but we can take a look.
I see that it appears that Alexander's been helping work through some issues and it appears to be making progress. Let's see when the last update was last week. So it looks like there might be a couple of open questions to Alexander here. I don't see him on the call at the moment, so I'm sure he'll get to that in due time. So let's pop back up to the next one. Let's see, this was 3466. Next is clone DV and temp PVC lost. Gotta move this top bar over for a second. There we go. Okay, looks like we're losing a PVC. Alexander, Michael taking a look.
Yeah, from what I recall, the target PVC. So we were basically updating the claim ref on the PV to point to the target PVC, but the PVC was not getting updated by the cube controller. Not sure why. Yeah, I mean, we just, and the claim will be lost while the PV does not point to the PVC prime. But, we expect that the target will get updated, but that doesn't seem to be happening. Don't know why. I mean, that seems like something, out of our control. But I guess, I don't think I've read the most recent comments, but one observation, and I'm not sure that it's related to this issue, but it did appear that the CDI controller was getting throttled because it was updating that data volume status quite frequently, and I'm not sure why that would be happening.
Progress, maybe?
Potentially, but I mean, it should be every, I think it's every, couple seconds or something, but I don't know what, that seemed interesting to me, but again, the CDI controller getting throttled shouldn't keep the cube controller from updating the target PVC, the volume, setting that to bounds. So I think that was an interesting observation and maybe worth investigating, but I'm not sure how that relates to the specific issue.
Okay, so do we just want to continue the discussion in here? It seems like we have, oh, this was 2 weeks ago, this question. It's certainly tough to, get people to jump in and debug somebody's issues. So I don't know if the answer is to just kind of, I guess, keep it open for now.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not exactly, definitely open to ideas here. It seemed to me that, you know, at least as far as it pertains to that, dealing with that lost PVC, we've done the right thing, and we're just waiting for the Cube controller to update everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but yeah, I'm not sure if we want to investigate the throttling, or I'm not sure if that could have any effect on it.
So in this particular scenario, I guess the DV would be continuing, like it's not marked as succeeded yet, and the PVC's like, yeah, the claim is, I'm just trying to
Yeah,
does our
yeah, I think while the DV is not succeeded, it will still keep like getting the status, but there's a lot of machinery there under the covers and just doing the status. So yeah.
yeah. And we've already done the update we need to do, so like we probably don't want to work around this by like rolling back that update and then reapplying it or something. That sounds like we're trying to.
No, yeah, the
Yeah.
only thing we could theoretically do, like, as part of our rebind process, we rely on the Cube controller manager to, once we've set the PV claim ref to update the target PVC. Yeah, I think we could, if we wanted to, update the target PVC ourselves or set the volume name, but it seems like something we shouldn't have to do, and we'll be in, it'll just be contention if we're trying to update that thing and the Cube controller manager.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's kind of nice to get confirmation from Cube that it accepts what we're doing by letting it sort of
Right.
corroborate and add it itself. It's sort of like a handshake in a way.
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, so at least as far as handling those lost PVCs based on the data that's in there, like, yeah, we're just waiting for the target to get bound, and it's not happening and don't know why.
So could he take a step of adding that volume name himself in this particular situation just to see if everything proceeds? Like that's not obvious. Excuse me, that's not obviously like a long-term solution, but like, just as we're pretty sure that if he adds that, what the cube manager was supposed to do, then everything should kind of resolve itself.
Well, yeah, so they could set the volume name on the target PVC, but we still rely on the Cube controller to update the status on the PVC to say bound.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
So it may be interesting, honestly. I don't know if the user included like Cube controller logs or anything, or did we ask them to look at it? I kind of forget. I think
I think you asked
but
him to look at the logs, and that's when we got this message. Because you asked
okay.
to cube controller manager should set. Not sure why it's happening. Maybe check the cube controller log. So, I mean, it's, God forbid, it's certainly possible there could be a Kubernetes bug here. I wonder to what degree folks have scalability tested like this rebinding code. So if you did have 1,000 PVCs and you were trying to like rebind them all at the same time, or like I'm just wondering if it could be somehow
Yeah,
Cube dropped it.
this is definitely, yeah, if you look at the bug, this is part of some scale test. They're doing a bunch of concurrent clones.
Mm-hmm. So I wonder if this could actually be repeated with, I mean, it's difficult, but I wonder if it could be done with a different kind of populator, but you know, to rule us out. But that's kind of definitely making somebody go on a wild goose chase. But I mean, it seems
Yeah,
like it could.
to be honest, I haven't seen any other populator implementations in the wild. I don't know if you guys have, but I would be interested to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the tricky part, like, right, they're using ours, but again, if we think it looks like a Kubernetes issue, could it be raised, or, you know, but I don't know. I also don't want to just like
This
kick it over
reminds
the,
this kind of reminds me of we had like a hot loop bug. I think Alexander found it. And I remember thinking that it was a Kubernetes bug at first before Alexander managed to find a hot loop. So this whole thing kind of reminds me of that. Yeah, so a kube controller manager logs would be really helpful here, but we should also tell them to increase the verbosity, which if they don't know how to do, we should probably help them.
should I put a little comment here now, or would somebody want to pop in and ask, and maybe even provide that verbosity instructions right away?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Right, so let's go on to the next one. Remove claim adoption feature gate. So I remember that Shelley created this one as part of a plan to adopt the work that Michael did to changing the data volume behavior, sort of as a permanent new behavior. So actually, I guess I would wonder, like, Michael, what's your opinion on this? How much time do we want to wait for something like this?
Yeah, it's funny to ask, like when to remove these feature gates, because, like for example, uh, yeah, I mean, I think it's like, I don't know how many releases it's been. Has it been? I think we've done 2 releases with this feature gate. Do we have to do one more? I don't know what the official policy is. But
I think it.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
But like, I was talking about, and I don't know if Alexander's here. Like, there are some other, there are a lot of feature gates we have to, like, talk about, maybe get rid of. Like, for example, hot plug is still a feature gate.
Yep.
That we should probably get rid of that for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think with each of these instances, yeah, there's definitely a push to, I think that feature gates were, I mean, and there's been discussion that feature gates were misused as a way of having an API switchable, like, do you want it or not? But really a feature gate should always be destined to be removed. So yeah, we probably have a little bit of maintenance to do there. It would seem to me that for any of these, the person who wants to do that should send a note to KubeVirt dev suggesting that we'd like to remove it, and to see if there's any objections, anybody that would be bothered by that. And then I suppose, for one like hot plug that's been around for so long, it would seem you could almost just do the PR, and see. for this one, because it is changing behavior, it'd be interesting to find out if we feel that anyone's relying on the previous behavior. We can also default the feature gate to on for a release, right? At least to see if, like, that's probably the first step, is warn that we're going to turn it on. So for 1.5 or something, it could be on. And then at least one, probably one release of it on. If there's no issues with the feature gate being on, then it can be removed. Right, so that's probably the first step if I'm on base there.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, like I definitely feel that this like behavior should be the default, and we just have to make sure we're not like that. Yeah, we communicate the change, and it's like in line with whatever policies are in place within the KubeVirt repo right now. And there's like a lot of times like there's a lot of good work going on around formalizing policies and stuff in KubeVirt, and it's quite possible that there's some policy that exists that I can't think of off the top of my head.
Yeah. I think Eddie is probably the guy to ask.
Yeah, Eddie is he's the guy that's gonna harsh your vibe when you want to make some change that is not compatible with some policy.
Anybody know what his
I think it's
GitHub?
Ed Dev.
Oh yeah, there he is. Okay, so let's start there. All right, next new release request.
Yeah, so I totally fair request. I just never got an answer, so I didn't want to make a release for no reason.
Sure.
We backported the PR, the PR merged, but I was waiting for them to tell me it's good enough in the 160 release.
Are we just doing Z's on demand basically at this moment, or do we have a regular cadence?
Yeah, it's just on demand. I won't do them for no reason. Like maybe if there's like a really bad bug that we find, but that hasn't been the case.
I wonder if it makes sense to have like a max, like if the release branch contains any PRs, then you're guaranteed to not have to wait longer than N weeks before there'd be a release. So like essentially like a schedule, but if there's nothing on it, then we don't have to do a release. But I don't know exactly what would make sense there to give some predictability. I guess it's generally working, so the way that we do it, we're able to be pretty flexible for people. But so it seems like there's really, I would say you could, whenever you decide to do the next release, right, then we can just close this issue.
Yeah,
We don't hear back.
So yeah, this is a funny question. I feel like there should be more I don't know, some frequency or somewhat like it seems that once, and this goes for TDI and KubeVirt too, it's like these point releases are pretty random and just whenever. And I don't know, we don't think too much about it. Like, but like, for example, I went to a local Kubernetes meetup a couple weeks ago in Boston, and they were talking about KubeVirt, and the guy was giving a presentation, and he said, "Oh yeah, but the latest version of KubeVirt that's released, it doesn't work on, I think it was AWS or GCP or something, and you know, so you have to like use this old version, and then I remember being like, I fixed that bug, and then and it just never got like released. So it's like, something like users aren't going to speak up and say like, oh, can you like make another release or something? I feel like we have to be better about like, this is something that
yeah, you're right. Like this, we're only seeing the people that do speak up, and probably the others are giving up or something. So
yeah, exactly. I think the default is most people be like, oh, well, this okay. Yeah.
I know this is at least a problem in the ramen project. They're like consuming the latest KubeVirt, and they're always behind on bug fixes, and they're angry, and yeah, it could really benefit from some cadence.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could automate it too, like honestly, where it just checks every n week interval, and if there are fixes to be released, then a sort of like release gets cut, and then maybe just the maintainer has to approve the release, and then it goes out or something. Like you could honestly do a weekly release, and then the maintainer either deletes the release or approves it if it should go out. I don't know. Anyway, we don't have to necessarily solve it here, but it does seem like I'm gonna add a little comment here, just to kind of record that we discussed it. So probably maybe don't close this one until we've managed to solve that. What I'd like to do is take a break from issue triage and just get to some of those other topics, if that sounds good. Are we ready to pivot over to your topics, Alex?
Yep.
Just didn't sure we have enough time to get through those.
Yeah, I'll try to make it quick. So we had a PR merged Friday, I think, doing some refactoring of the VertCTL image upload tests. That was like a great change, so don't get me wrong, but one of the side effects, like as Felix went on with the PR, he probably saw that the tests were running serially, and he was like, "There's no reason to do that. Let's just run them in parallel." And this is actually not working well for the image upload tests. I've tried it before. I hit the same issue, and the gain was minimal, so I kind of left it around and dropped the PR. But yeah, this somehow did merge. I guess it just got lucky, and the CI that ran on that PR on Friday. But if you open up the link, the first line on the failing keyword, the impact is really bad. Yeah, it hit us pretty bad. Luckily yesterday I had an open PR, and I was like, why is this failing? Like, there's no reason for that. So for some reason that I don't yet know, but I have some theories. Whenever we do concurrent VertCTL image uploads, we just get these HTTP errors, which is super weird. Because we have in VirtCTL, we have a polling for the upload ready condition. So the upload pod should be ready. So that there's really no reason for that to happen.
What's
And
502?
Forget. I think it's the upload proxy. Bad gateway. It fails between the upload proxy to the pod, even though the pod communicated that it was ready. So that's doesn't make any sense. If you open the notes document, so yesterday and Sunday we managed to merge a PR that puts those tests to running serially, so minimize the impact right away. But the problem remains, and apparently Felix, who's also the author of the PR, has a theory about this that looks real promising. Basically, he's saying that the probe we use in the upload pod isn't really honest. It's looking at an endpoint that's not the upload endpoint. It's looking at some health endpoint, and I don't think that's enough indication that the pod is ready, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, Felix and I have been going back and forth on this. So the issue is this. The upload server pod for the main server, like the endpoint that processes the uploads, it does like mutual TLS authentication. So it expects a client cert, and it will reject any connection that does not have a client cert. And so that makes putting the health check on that listener server, whatever, complicated, because the Kubernetes health check, you can't give it a client cert. And this TLS stuff happens before any HTTP, so it's not like we can look at the URL and say, oh, this is the health check, that's fine, we don't have to secure this. Like that, these cert checking happens before that. So that's why the health check is actually happening on a different listener.
But go ahead.
So that, and if you look at the code, it's possible that the listeners are just running in their separate Go routines. So it's possible that maybe one is handling requests while one isn't.
I can speak for that mutual TLS bit. That's actually I remember this problem from early Docker containers, that the MySQL containers, you could just write a bash script that's fine with TLS being rejected, and that would still give you enough confidence that the endpoint is good to go. I think it's a problem for the readiness probe as it is with HTTP GET, but if you convert it to a bash script, somebody wrote it. That's what I'm saying. I think we can get through that point. But yeah, about the Go routines, I'm not sure what we could do there.
And I don't know if I'm understanding the problem in enough detail, but could the health endpoint, as part of its work, actually try to reach out to the other endpoint? Does that even make sense? I'm not sure if I'm detailed enough into this, but would that solve it?
It's a similar thing. So that, again, that endpoint, we'd have to have configure the cert, the client cert for it, and the upload server doesn't have a client cert. It has a CA cert that it will, but it doesn't have a client cert. So it can validate a cert, but not like it doesn't have a cert to use to do that health check thing.
Okay.
No, I'd be interested in this bash idea. So the there may be things my only I'd be interested to see how this bash thing works. We just have to make sure that we don't compromise any security on this, because one thing I was thinking of is like we may be able to allow like not do the client cert checking if like the client is connecting to like localhost. But I think that may allow a way for people to like if someone does a kubectl proxy, they may be able to bypass the TLS stuff that we want. So I think we just have to understand the security implications of these workarounds as well. But I think there may be, I'm not saying it's not possible, but we just have to understand any security implications.
Also, maybe not as nice as fixing the health check, but if I saw the comment that virtctl is working around the issue by retrying, could the tests also retry?
No, the tests they have a one go policy.
Yeah. So Felix added a retry to the image upload command.
Yeah.
And so that's still not working.
Yep.
Even with
yeah, it doesn't work. Maybe you need like a sleep or something in there, which anyway, I know he's pretty unhappy about introducing the retry mechanism in the first place.
Yeah, it's definitely a band-aid.
He wants to get rid of it now after the like as aftermath. He wants to get rid of it. So my question is, are we in agreement that this is likely the problem? So we can explain confidently and just have to come up with a solution to this problem, find a way to report the readiness in a more honest way. Would that make the problem go away?
So I think that's a good question. I'm not exactly sure, because maybe there's something else that so the upload proxy is checking that I think the pod is ready or something like that. I forget what it's checking, but there's still the whole Kubernetes service machinery there. Like, so if when you have a service, there's the like Kubernetes is watching the pods, they have the label selectors, and then when the pods that match those labels are ready, then it updates, I think, like the endpoints or something like that. So there could be something else in the service machinery, although getting a 502 does kind of make me think that, well, yeah, there could be something else in we should be checking as well, like a endpoint or something. I think that may be necessary.
Actually, I looked up the service angle when it first happened a month ago. What I did find is that there is a way to wait for a service to be like, ready from the Kubernetes service machinery perspective, but not for our type, I think. Something like that. You could wait for a status field, but only for certain types of services. Something like that, but not for ours.
But that's another thing as well, because the upload proxy doesn't connect directly to the pod; it goes through the service. So I think there's still potentially some synchronization there.
Okay, so like it seems like a promising direction to explore, but I guess we don't have the confidence to say that, yeah, once we fix this, it'll for sure be better. Can I ask then, so with the test serialized, we've basically restored CI functionality though.
Yeah, it looks much better.
Okay. All right, so we don't have like an immediate emergency with that that's going to be blocking anyone, but we definitely need to dig further in on this to see if
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
parallelize it just for the general benefit of CI.
yeah. That emergency was visible yesterday, like random PRs would be blocked on the SIG storage lane.
Okay. Nice.
Right.
Okay. All right. Anything on that first topic further, or do you want to move on to the RBAC fix?
Yeah, just at our backport, we have the main PR merged. The backport isn't. Would be nice to get a approval there. It basically stops like OpenShift testing, that RBAC, that specific admission controller is always on in OpenShift, so bit of a pain on that side. Yeah, just need a review. It's a clean backport.
Okay. Sounds good. Maybe Michael, you could take a quick look then if it's just a cherry. Yeah, if it's just a cherry pick, should be easy.
Yep.
Excellent. All right, so then we're back to issues. We have about 10 more minutes in regular order, so let's see what we can take care of here. So automatically create network policies if network policy usage is detected. Their upload. Hmm. Yeah, it seems like, I don't know, that's an interesting one because like my first inclination is that network policies are a separate concern and that CDI could be abusing its privileges if it creates them on behalf of a network admin who might have restricted things for a reason. And
Yeah, it's 100% abusable. Like, if you know this detail about CDI, you could just. I think the options are endless, right? You know, you can look at the worker pod spec and start crafting your own something similar. You could pretend to be CDI. I think it's
yeah,
too involved.
import a really big image, then that network policy is in place, and then do what you were actually the bad thing that you were actually wanting to do, or something like that.
Yeah. I've seen this GitHub handled before though. Not sure who this is. Maybe
Yeah,
on
we've
KubeVirt.
he definitely has submitted some issues.
So do we have a
Relatively
response?
active KubeVirt user.
I think it's too involved for CDI to start creating network policies.
Mhm.
It's probably against some. It's also probably against some RBAC guidelines.
Well, we don't,
This,
and we don't have permission on those anyway right now, right? So that's basically asking
yeah,
CDI
yeah,
become, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
All right, so maybe this is good coming from a maintainer of CDI to express that. Like, obviously, it's clear that that would make things a little more turnkey and easy, but it should be the responsibility of whatever component is creating the network policies to make sure that that the things you want to do in your cluster are permitted. Otherwise, we're basically just doing a hack or like a security workaround.
Yeah, I can take that one.
So I'll just assign you just so that it great. All right, next is the data volume test VM storage is invalid. Namespace required value.
Yeah, actually, this one surprised me. I didn't realize we have the namespaces required. I completely agree, like it shouldn't be. Maybe someone knows about a good reason, but I doubt there is. I really doubt it.
Yeah, it seems reasonable from my perspective. Is there someone that would want to be assigned this? Anyone here? Doesn't have to be one of us, but I'll at least add that comment. Let's go one more. We have changing import strategy to work better with persistent volume quotas. Okay, yeah, so this came up somewhere else. I saw this where this is an argument, I believe, towards making making provisioning happen in a system namespace, right? And then instead of in the actual target namespace. Empty dir, reduce the number to 2. Can we wait on creating until we've destroyed without?
That must be he tried to reference the first section and he got the design.pr. So essentially scratch space is a problem for them since they have quotas.
Well, it's not just scratch space, it's like the PVC prime too. So it's 3x, which is
Yeah. What if they used like the real quote, like the KubeVirt application aware quota? Would they hit the same problem?
well, that hasn't really, that work is still kind of in flux. And if you recall, I think adding PVC support to that is unknown how to do it, because right now the way that they're, right now the way it works, it takes advantage of, it's really can only work for pods. We have to come up with a scheme for PVCs.
Right.
Would you guys read this text here, and does this makes, because we've been exploring doing this. I think we opted for provisioning in the user's namespace because we didn't want the potential of some kind of shared namespace leaking data that like other people would have access to. But if that namespace could be created with like permissions that only CDI can access it or something, maybe we could manage that risk a little bit better.
Yeah, like for the prime PVCs, to me, this is like a completely a Kubernetes problem because any populator is going to be creating those.
Mm-hmm.
So we're missing some kind of either like a quota cap to make it easier to account for the prime PVCs. And using that same mechanism, we could probably also chuck in the scratch PVC.
I mean, I think it would be solved nicely if you had a populator namespace, because then the admin could configure that with like by default, we could configure that with a pretty high quota or no quota at all. And then it could, as long as it was restricted so that people couldn't just use it. I mean, I guess, yeah, you wouldn't have regular users wouldn't have permission to that namespace anyway, but you worry that somebody could see a prime PVC in there and then do a quick clone of it and then, basically access someone else's data. That was kind of the worry that we had, even if they can't create pods there depending on as long as our cloning permission handling excluded that namespace by default, then people couldn't do it. But yeah, there's like some security.
Yeah, this seems to me like something we'd want to maybe give people the ability to opt into, but not sure about the default.
I can't spell today.
This same person, I think, is going to hit similar issues with VMs later on once he has the disks ready. So
Okay.
one way or the other, I think they'll find themselves in using that AAQ or I forget the name.
Yep. All right, we are kind of coming up on time. Do we want to just feel good about taking care of all the issues and take a peek at this one first? I don't know if there's a decent amount of comment on it. I don't see Alexander here, and he's been involved in the conversation, so it kind of seems like there's enough back and forth, yeah, on this one that it's getting the attention that it needs. So I guess nothing really to do for us here, I would say. And as far as I understand it, that would be all the issues, and we are about 2 minutes over the time that we would have in regular time. So I suggest maybe we end here unless anybody has any final parting words. Sounds like we don't. So I guess that would be the end of the meeting today. Thank you everyone for joining in the participation. We'll see you back here in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye.